Chapter 4788. The cultivators present were all geniuses from various clans. Although they had some misgivings about the Xiao family, they did not care too much about it. After all, Xiao Shou was not the holy maiden of light yet. Her status was the same as theirs. Xiao Shou did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly bring up this issue. This was also the issue that she did not want everyone to bring up. She naturally wanted to become the holy maiden of light, but there were still some problems with the purity of her light attribute. If she could have obtained the light vine previously, this problem might have been solved. However, all of this was ruined by Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang actually took the initiative to bring up this point. It was really hateful. Faced with everyone's suspicious gazes, Xiao Shou clenched her hands into fists. Her fingernails were deeply embedded in her palms. The hatred in her heart made her feel no pain at all. Just as Xiao Shou was about to speak, Di Beichen's voice rang out again. "Miss Xiao, we are not familiar with each other, and we have no intention of talking to you much. I hope you can conduct yourself with dignity." Di Beichen's voice was cold. He did not expect Xiao Shou to be such an annoying existence. However, ever since the incident with the light vine, he felt that it was a waste of time to look at this woman. However, this woman always liked to take the initiative to find trouble with them. He was the cause of the incident, so he naturally had to express his stance. As soon as this was said, Xiao Shou's expression changed. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's mockery, Di Beichen's words were more serious. When the other cultivators heard Di Beichen's words, they were secretly surprised. "I heard that Di Beichen originally had an engagement with Xiao Shou, but he gave it up for Bailey Hongzhuang. Now it seems that Di Beichen really has no feelings for Xiao Shou. It's hard to imagine that Xiao Shou would actually be rejected. He usually has a lot of suitors. Actually, I also thought that Di Beichen must be crazy. But after I saw Bailey Hongzhuang, I understood that I wouldn't agree to such a peerless beauty either." Xiao Shou's face turned red with anger. She looked at Di Beichen angrily. She couldn't believe that Di Beichen could be so cold. "Di Beichen, you think too highly of yourself. Miss Xiao doesn't like you at all." At this moment, a figure stood beside Xiao Shou and stared coldly at Di Beichen. Looking at the newcomer, Di Beichen looked indifferent. "And who are you?" "I am Nangong Yuqing." "Nangong Yuqing. He has been pursuing Xiao Shou all these years. He is the representative of her suitors." Di Xiaofeng reminded. Di Beichen's eyes showed a trace of understanding. "Let's not talk about whether she likes me or not. At the very least, she doesn't like you." Nangong Yuqing wanted to stand up at this time to teach Di Beichen a lesson and win the favor of the beauty. He didn't expect to be directly choked by this sentence. After hearing this, everyone present was dumbfounded. This really made people speechless. "I am telling the truth." Di Beichen spoke again. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "I think so too." This was because Nangong Yuqing wasn't very good looking. Chapter 4789. Nangong Yuqing naturally understood why Di Beichen said this, and his expression became extremely ugly. It had been a long time since someone had dared to mention this to his face. He didn't expect Di Beichen to not give him any face at all. His eyes burned with anger. Di Xiaofeng noticed this and felt helpless. He had forgotten to remind Di Beichen of this. Although Nangong Yuqing isn't good-looking, his strength and talent are first class. Not only that, but he also holds grudges. In the past, there were people in his family who mocked him for being ugly, but after he rose to power, he taught them a lesson. Therefore, although everyone knows this, no one dares to mention it to his face. Di Xiaofeng said. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed. Although she knew that everyone present was a genius, she didn't expect Nangong Yuqing to be a genius among geniuses. Since Di Xiaofeng had reminded her, it could be seen that this guy's strength wasn't ordinary. Nangong Yuqing was probably one of the top geniuses here. Di Beichen, I heard that you will be the successor of the Di family in the future. Nangong Yuqing narrowed his eyes. Wouldn't it be interesting if I killed you? The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Everyone's eyes fell on Di Beichen and Nangong Yuqing. It seemed that a fight between the two was unavoidable. Nangong Yuqing's strength has recently made a breakthrough. I heard that he has already broken through to the nebula realm. This guy's cultivation speed is truly abnormal. Di Beichen definitely won't be his opponent. Of course. Di Beichen would be at a disadvantage if he were to compete with Nangong Yuqing. Xiao Sou felt very helpless when it came to Nangong Yuqing. This guy had been chasing her for a long time, but unfortunately, his looks weren't good enough. Otherwise, with his status as the young master of the Nangong family, it wouldn't be bad. Now that Nangong Yuqing and Di Beichen were fighting because of her, she was happy to watch. Di Beichen had embarrassed her time and time again. She no longer had the affection she had in the past. It was good to teach him a lesson. Anyway, I just returned to the Di family. Even if I die, it won't affect the Di family. Di Beichen said casually, but, if you die, I think the Nangong family will be more interesting, right? Following Di Beichen's words, everyone present was stunned. There was only one thought in their minds, is Di Beichen crazy? Fuck, I didn't expect the second young master of the Di family to have such guts. He actually dares to challenge us directly. Nangong Yuqing chuckled after hearing this. You. What about me? Di Beichen chuckled. Don't think that you're so great just because you grew up in the Di family. I came from the lower realm. The tempering I went through isn't something that someone who grew up in an environment like yours can compare to. Nangong Yuqing's black eyes flashed with a biting cold light, and a murderous aura gradually emerged. The domineering aura of a powerhouse suddenly burst out. Di Beichen locked his eyes on Nangong Yuqing. His eyes were as sharp as knives, and just looking at them made people involuntarily feel a chill run down their spine. From the moment he became the young master of the Di family, almost everyone doubted him and looked down on him. However, he was also a proud son of heaven and had never lost to anyone. Since he was young, the tempering he endured was no less than anyone else. Chapter 4790. Although everyone knew that Di Beichen would be the head of the Di family in the future, almost none of the cultivators present put Di Beichen in their eyes. A cultivator from the lower realm simply couldn't compare with them in terms of cultivation. In their eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was much stronger than Di Beichen. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation wasn't as good as theirs, Bailey Hongzhuang was a genius alchemist. Just from this point alone, Bailey Hongzhuang was already a powerful person. In contrast, Di Beichen had appeared in everyone's sight for a while, but he hadn't shown any performance, so everyone thought that he had an empty identity but didn't have the strength to match it. However, after seeing Di Beichen's aura, everyone's thoughts couldn't help but change. This kind of aura wasn't something that just anyone could have, at least most of the people present couldn't. The most important thing was that from Di Beichen's aura, they could feel an almost tangible killing intent. It was the kind of killing intent that only a person who had walked through a mountain of swords and a sea of blood could have. Not to mention the others, even Di Xiaofeng was shocked when he felt Di Beichen's aura at this moment. Nangong Yuqing looked at Di Beichen in surprise. He suddenly felt that he had underestimated this guy before. This kind of aura shocked him so much that he couldn't recover for a while. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan's expressions were also constantly changing. At this moment, they realized that they had always overlooked Di Beichen's strength. In their eyes, Di Beichen's cultivation was completely incomparable to theirs. However, all of them overlooked one point. Di Beichen relied on his own strength to come to the upper realm, not the Di family's people who directly brought him up from the lower realm. This meant that Di Beichen was also a peak existence in the lower realms. Even if such a person's foundation was not as good as theirs, his experience must be extremely rich. Since you're so arrogant, then let me see how strong you are. Nangong Yuqing naturally wasn't someone who would be scared. Even if Di Beichen's momentum was astonishing, he wouldn't back down too much. After all, in terms of strength, he had never been afraid of anyone. As soon as his voice fell, Nangong Yuqing directly punched Di Beichen. The moment he punched out, everyone could clearly feel his strength. Nebula Second Order. Seeing this, Di Beichen didn't back down. Instead, he met the attack with a punch. Bang! When the two fists collided, Di Beichen retreated a few steps, while Nangong Yuqing stood still. Seeing this scene, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. That scared me. I thought that Di Beichen's strength was really on par with Nangong Yuqing's. Fortunately, it's not as scary as it seems. Di Beichen is younger than Nangong Yuqing. He came from the lower realm, but he was able to take a punch from Nangong Yuqing. It can be seen that his talent isn't any weaker than ours. That's true, but at least he's not Nangong Yuqing's opponent right now. Although Di Beichen retreated 2 steps, he looked at Nangong Yuqing with a devilish smile. He waved his hand without a care. Obviously, he wasn't injured from the previous exchange. However, Nangong Yuqing, who was in an advantageous position, frowned. His gaze gradually became cautious and complicated, but his face was full of impatience. I'm too lazy to bother with you. Chapter 4791. When everyone saw Nangong Yuqing suddenly leave, they were all at a loss. According to their understanding, Nangong Yuqing wasn't someone who would show mercy. It seems that Di Beichen is a bit strange. Jun Lingxuan's gaze fell on Di Beichen. He clearly saw the situation between the two and knew that Di Beichen's cultivation wasn't a match for Nangong Yuqing. What was strange was that when Di Beichen made his move, he didn't sense his cultivation. Not only that, he believed that if Nangong Yuqing really had the advantage, he wouldn't give up so easily. As such, there was only one explanation. Although Di Beichen seemed to be at a disadvantage, the one who was at a disadvantage was actually Nangong Yuqing. Only in this way could everything be explained. Even though he already understood everything in his heart, Jun Lingxuan still couldn't believe that Di Beichen could do this. I also think that Nangong Yuqing's performance is a bit strange. He always likes to show off his strength in front of Xiao Sou, so he definitely won't give up such a good opportunity. Jun Zitao also said. Nangong Yuqing was also very depressed at this moment. When he fought with Di Beichen, although Di Beichen seemed to be at a disadvantage, he felt that Di Beichen's power was strange. That kind of power mixed with killing intent entered his body like a sharp blade, causing him to feel a burst of pain. Most importantly, he couldn't expel that kind of power in a short time. It was because of this that he chose to give up. This kid was so strange. If he continued to fight, he might be seriously injured. The people present obviously weren't stupid. After thinking about it for a while, they understood the problem. Suddenly, they looked at Di Beichen with a trace of fear. It seemed that they had all underestimated Di Beichen. He wasn't someone they could easily provoke. If Nangong Yuqing didn't dare to continue fighting, then at least most of them weren't a match for him. For a time, everyone began to ponder in their hearts. The Di family wasn't simple this time. They had Bailey Hongzhuang as their pharmacist, and Di Beichen was such a talented cultivator. They were on the verge of rising. After Nangong Yuqing left, the matter came to an end. Xiao Sou was clearly still angry, but she didn't know what to say in this situation. Big sister, father has already told us not to take the initiative to find trouble with Di Beichen. Xiao Sudong could not help but remind her. He was Xiao Sou's biological younger brother. Although others didn't know that Xiao Sou had been scolded by someone, as her biological younger brother, he knew about it. That was because he had also been reprimanded by his father, who had asked them to keep a low profile. The Xiao family and the Di family are both big families. Why should we hide from them? Xiao Souv said unhappily. Xiao Sudong was also somewhat helpless. Big sister, listen to father's advice. If we cause trouble again, we will be punished when we go back. Seeing this, Xiao Sou looked at Xiao Sudong with displeasure. In the end, she chose to give up. Sooner or later, she would find an opportunity to teach Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. The deck suddenly became quiet. After the flying artifact was activated, everyone felt a gust of wind. Under this gale, it was not an easy task to even stand firm. Chapter 4792. Almost at the same time, the cultivators on the deck swayed left and right, unable to stabilize themselves at all. Many cultivators directly fell and slid from the east side of the deck to the west. They didn't stop until they hit the edge of the deck. However, after a series of collisions, many people were already dizzy from the collisions, and many of them were even injured from the collisions. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others clearly didn't expect the movement to be so terrifying, but they were also people who had experienced hundreds of battles. They usually encountered all kinds of strange situations. Even if this was the first time they encountered such a situation, their reaction speed was very fast. They immediately attached their spirit energy to their feet and tried their best to stabilize themselves. Shengguan Ying was careless and directly fell. Just as she was about to hit somewhere, Xiren grabbed her. Ying, be careful. When Xiren grabbed the iron pole on the deck with his other hand and held Shengguan Ying tightly with his other hand. Although people wouldn't be thrown out of the flying magic tool, once they slipped, the injuries wouldn't be light. With the help of Xiren's strength, Shengguan Ying quickly stabilized herself. The spirit energy in her body surged out and she didn't dare to relax at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen also stabilized themselves immediately. Feeling the terrifying airflow around them, their hearts were filled with emotions. Xiaofeng, you didn't tell us before that the airflow would be so terrifying. Shengguan Ying looked helplessly at Di Xiaofeng. When she heard Di Xiaofeng's indifferent expression, she thought it was a very easy thing. Now the facts told her that she thought too simply. Other than the fact that people wouldn't fly out of the deck, nothing else had changed. Seeing this, Di Xiaofeng smiled awkwardly. When I went out to train before, the airflow wasn't so terrifying. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also understood. Thinking about it, the airflow strength that Di Xiaofeng endured before was based on his previous strength. Now, the airflow strength was obviously stronger than before. At this moment, Mo Yunjue's voice suddenly sounded. Some people say that we are country bumpkins who have never seen the world. At least we can still stand steadily, unlike some people who are like a silver spearhead. They can't even stand steadily. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned their eyes to Jun Zitao. Sure enough, Jun Zitao had already flown to the other side and was now trying to stand up. Hearing Mo Yunjue's mockery, Jun Zitao's face turned black. He remained silent, feeling depressed. He didn't expect that the airflow this time would be so terrifying. He didn't react in time, and the back of his body was completely out of control. Following the swaying of the flying magic artifact, he flew in all directions. At this moment, he felt as if his internal organs were about to be knocked out of place. When he heard Mo Yunjue's ridicule, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Most importantly, the country bumpkins that he had mocked before were all standing properly. They did not fall down at all. This was awkward. Jun Lingxuan also stabilized his body for the first time, but it was too late to help Jun Zitao. Logically speaking, with Jun Zitao's strength, he shouldn't have fallen down. However, Jun Zitao didn't pay attention to the flying magic artifact just now, so he suffered a loss. Chapter 4793. Ziren looked at Mo Yinjue with a smile. Didn't we already know? The Jun family likes to flaunt their power with their mouths, but when it comes to facts, they're useless. Wasn't it the same last time? Looking at Ziren's expression that said, "It's fine as long as we know it in our hearts." Jun Zitao couldn't hold it in any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood. This guy was too mean. He was already embarrassed enough when Mo Yinjue said that. Now that when Ziren mentioned it, he lost all his face. Nangong Yuqing's gaze fell on Ziren's body, and a strong sense of surprise emerged in his heart. In fact, he didn't care about Di Beichen and the others at all. The lower realm's resources couldn't be compared to the upper realms. Although the lower realm's cultivators had some ability to come to the upper realm, they still couldn't be compared to the geniuses of the aristocratic families. However, many of the cultivators present were unable to stabilize their bodies. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other cultivators from the lower realm were all able to stabilize themselves. Just this point alone couldn't be underestimated. Previously, the Jun family suffered a big loss at the hands of the Di family, so he somewhat looked down on them. However, now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did have some ability. If he underestimated them, it was very likely that he would fail miserably. Just like before, when he and Di Beichen exchanged punches, it didn't seem to be a big deal to others, but only those who had fought with him would understand how uncomfortable it was. Thinking about it, the Jun family's disciples had the same thoughts as him. Although many of the cultivators had fallen, everyone's strength was there for all to see. Naturally, they stood up at the first moment. In a short time, everyone on the deck had stabilized their bodies. A gust of wind swept across everyone's body. Even with spirit energy protecting their bodies, everyone could still feel that the wind was as sharp as a blade, causing a burst of stinging pain when it blew across their bodies. It wasn't until this moment that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others understood what Di Xiaofeng meant by tempering. Because under the influence of this airflow, everyone's origin energy was exhausted extremely quickly. Not only that, but his physical body was also greatly affected. Once their essence energy was insufficient, they had no doubt that this energy would directly cut through their skin. The airflow here is really scary. It's not easy to stay on the deck for a long time. When Ziren frowned slightly, he could feel that his elemental energy was depleting rapidly. During this period of time, his strength had also increased by a lot, but in this short period of time, he had already consumed nearly half of the origin energy in his body. If this continued, he wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. He wasn't the only one. He noticed that the other cultivators around him didn't look too good either. Apparently, they were all in the same situation. That's right. This is indeed not an easy task. Di Xiaofeng said, although this place does have a tempering effect, most people will still enter in the end. The airflow here isn't something ordinary people can withstand. Hearing this, Ziren nodded slightly, that's more like it. If these people could all endure here, then the strength of the upper realm's disciples would be too terrifying. Chapter 4794. Conserving elemental energy was also a kind of ability for cultivators. Cultivators of the same level would compete to see who could last until the end. The situation in front of them was undoubtedly a good opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang attached the required amount of elemental energy to the soles of her feet. Stabilizing herself was undoubtedly the most important thing now. As for the elemental energy in her body, she did not attach too much to her body. This situation was extremely beneficial for tempering her physical body. Furthermore, her physical body was already stronger than that of an average cultivator. Normally, she would not be able to find a suitable environment to temper her physical body. Now that there was one in front of her, she naturally would not miss it. Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other. His thoughts were the same as Bailey Hongzhuang's. Now, he also understood the importance of tempering his physical body. Since they were going to stay here for 3 months, it was undoubtedly a good opportunity for them to cultivate. As Bailey Hongzhuang gradually reduced the amount of elemental energy in her body, the pain caused by the wind blades also increased continuously. Faintly, some bloodstains began to appear on her skin. Red flowers bloomed on her white dress. It was coquettish and desolate. Bailey Hongzhuang circulated the demon summoning scripture, while the elemental energy in her body continued to circulate. Even though the environment here was not good, the elemental energy in the airflow still existed. Through the circulation of the demon summoning scripture, she gradually absorbed and strengthened her dantian. Bailey Hongzhuang was dressed in white, and the blood-red color on her body was undoubtedly very conspicuous. Xiao Sei-wu noticed this situation for the first time, and suddenly a trace of ridicule appeared in her eyes. Going to the immortal cloud secret realm with such little power, she is completely at the bottom of the list. Xiao Sou sneered in her heart. Even though the elemental energy on the deck was depleted very quickly, she still had half of her elemental energy in her body. She was not injured at all. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was already unable to hold on so quickly. It could be seen that the amount of elemental energy in her body was very little. Jun Lingxuan and the rest also noticed this scene. With this kind of power, I'm afraid she is only at the star radiance realm. Cultivators from the lower plane are naturally not as strong as us. It is not strange for such a situation to occur, Xiao Sudong said with a smile. Previously, they had been suppressed by the D family. Now, they had finally found a way to turn the tables. When Sheng Guaningying and the others saw this situation, a trace of surprise appeared in their eyes. Logically speaking, with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, she shouldn't be unable to hold on so quickly. Could it be that Hongzhuang is deliberately trying to confuse others? Sheng Guaningying's eyes flashed as she pondered. Now that everyone was gathered here, she could tell how strong they were from the time they lasted. She was well aware of Hongzhuang's strength and believed that she must have her reasons for doing so. When Xiren glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang and noticed that there seemed to be blood seeping out of Di Beichen's clothes. He then said, I'm afraid Hongzhuang isn't trying to confuse others. She's just tempering her body. Hearing that, Sheng Guaningying was struck dumb for a second. That seems to be the case. Now is indeed a good time to temper your body, Mo Yunjue also said. He also noticed this point and immediately reduced the amount of elemental energy covering his body. He began to use the power of the wind to temper his body. Seeing this, Xiren, Sheng Guaningying, and Ao Lingxiao looked at each other. These guys were really abnormal. The pain of tempering one's body was not something that ordinary people could endure. Since they are already like this, we can't be lazy. Xiren suddenly chuckled. What they wanted was to enter the immortal cloud mystery realm in their best condition, and not torture themselves until they were neither human nor ghost. In a short period of time, the number of people on the deck had decreased by half, making the originally empty deck even more spacious. Xiao Sou realized that the primary energy in her body had been depleted. The intense pain caused her to frown. She looked around and realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's body was almost completely covered in wounds. However, under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang still had her eyes tightly shut. She had no intention of leaving. What a lunatic. Chapter 4796. Big sister, it's too torturous to stand here. Why don't we go down as well? Xiao Sudong could not help but ask. Many of their family's disciples had already gone up to the deck. They did not have to endure such torturous pain. Xiao Sou glanced at Xiao Sudong before looking at Di Beichen and the others who had no intention of leaving. She said in a deep voice, if you can't stand it, you can leave first. I want to continue staying here. She was not an alchemist and could not be compared to Bailey Hongzhuang in the alchemy competition.
Now, they were competing in cultivation. If she was defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, how could she face others? Jun Lingxuan, Jun Zitao, Nangong Yuqing and the others were still standing on the deck. They had no intention of leaving. I suddenly realized that the cultivators from the lower realm are not simple. So many people can't stand it anymore, but they can still stay here. Indeed, I feel that we have underestimated them before. They still have some ability. Di Beichen's words make sense. It's not easy to go from the lower realm to the upper realm. Many of the cultivators present noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were clearly wounded, but they were still holding on, and did not retreat at all. Their thoughts had already begun to change. Towards Wen Ziren and the others, they had never taken them seriously. After all, these people were only supporting characters in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. They could not even be considered as supporting characters. They were just cannon fodder. If it was not for Bailey Hongzhuang who had won so many spots for the D family, Wen Ziren and the others would not have had the chance to come here. However, after seeing the perseverance displayed by Ziren and the others, everyone's thoughts changed. After all, everyone admired cultivators with strong willpower. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and focused on circulating the demon summoning scripture. The intense pain on her body was not unbearable for her. In the past, she had often endured such tempering. She knew in her heart that tempering one's body must be a painful process. If he gave up just like that, he wouldn't gain anything. On the contrary, as long as she continued to persevere, the harvest would definitely be better than she expected. Xiao Feng, I can't hold on any longer, Bailey Yunyan said after holding on for a long time. Initially, when she saw that Bailey Hongzhuang's people had no intention of leaving, she forced herself not to leave. However, as the pain gradually intensified, she couldn't hold on any longer. The cultivators of the 100 Lane clan had all left by now. She was the only one left here. Hearing Bailey Yunyan's words, Di Xiaofeng nodded and said, "You can go down and rest well." "What about you?" Bailey Yunyan couldn't help but ask. Beichen has no intention of leaving. As his elder brother, how can I leave? Di Xiaofeng smiled warmly, "You don't have to worry. It's good for me to stay up here. If I really can't take it, I'll go down directly." Hearing this, Bailey Yunyan's eyes flashed with hesitation and said, "All right then. After you go down, go back to your room and rest. If there's nothing else, it's best if you don't come out. I'll look for you after I go down," Di Xiaofeng said. Chapter 4797. The Bailey family was originally a relatively weak existence among the many forces here. If they were targeted after going down, it would be troublesome. Therefore, the best choice was to stay in seclusion and cultivate in peace. Time gradually passed, and the number of cultivators on the deck became fewer and fewer. 3 days later, Di Beichen's gaze landed on a black figure. He had been paying attention to this person for a while. Almost everyone couldn't help but discuss at this moment. However, this person didn't care about the thoughts of others. He directly sat on the ground and started cultivating. It was obvious that he had already treated this place as a place to cultivate and had no intention of leaving. If his judgment was not wrong, this person should have decided to temper his body here after stepping on the deck. "Big brother, who is that?" Di Xiaofeng looked in the direction Di Beichen was pointing. After seeing the other party clearly, he said, "The person you are talking about is Madman from the Great Devil's Sect." "Madman?" Di Beichen's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly, "That's right. This person is called Chen Feng. He is a genius cultivator from the Great Devil's Sect. His strength is extremely tyrannical. According to our judgment, he should be the strongest among all of us here." Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but open her eyes and see the person they were talking about. Chen Feng was wearing black clothes. His expression was grave and stern, and his whole body was emitting an aura that kept people away. He is the strongest. Bailey Hongzhuang was also somewhat astonished. She really didn't notice this person's existence before. However, now that she looked carefully, she also found that this person was not simple. That's right. He is completely a cultivation maniac. Once he starts cultivating, he looks like a madman. That's why everyone gave him a nickname, Madman. However, he is a relatively cold person. He generally doesn't like to interact with others. He spends almost all of his time on cultivation. He even feels that talking to others is a waste of time. Therefore, although he is the strongest and none of us dare to ignore him, he is too lazy to pay attention to ordinary things. As soon as these words came out, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other. It turned out to be this kind of temperament, no wonder she was ignored. Let's not talk about him. Di Xiaofeng's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang. The way you two cultivate is quite abnormal. This is completely a masochistic way of cultivation. Previously, when he was in the Di family, Di Beichen had lamented that Di Beichen and Gu Shijiu were in closed-door training almost every day. It was a little exaggerated. However, now that he saw the two of them like this, he understood the situation of the two people's daily cultivation. Big brother, cultivating here is very helpful for tempering the body. Don't you think this is a good opportunity? Di Beichen asked with a smile. You're just looking for trouble here. Di Xiaofeng rolled his eyes. Look at how many people are still here. In his line of sight, other than them, there were less than 10 cultivators left on the deck. Big brother, if you don't like to cultivate here, you can directly go down. We have no problem here. Di Beichen chuckled. He naturally knew that Di Xiaofeng's usual cultivation method was not like this. If it wasn't for his face, Di Xiaofeng would have left long ago. Chapter 4798. Those guys haven't left yet, so how can I leave? Di Xiaofeng raised his eyebrows and quietly glanced at Jun Lingxuan and the others. Let me tell you, they must be very depressed right now. They usually don't suffer like this, but this time, they're angry with you, so they've been holding it in until now. They must be cursing you in their hearts. Di Xiaofeng's eyes were filled with a mischievous smile. The Di family and the Xiao family had always been very familiar. In the past, the Di family and the Xiao family had been friends for generations. As for the Jun family, because the two sides had always been opponents, they knew the Jun family's situation better than the Xiao family. Whether it was Jun Lingxuan or Xiao Sou, they were naturally cultivation geniuses. They usually cultivated very hard, but this kind of cultivation method was obviously not suitable for them. Hearing this, Di Beichen's lips curled up. They're willing to do this, so maybe it'll help them. When Di Xiaofeng noticed Jun Lingxuan and the others frowning, the smile in his eyes gradually deepened. If that's the case, then isn't it not worth it for us? Just as you said, if they didn't really want to stay here, then they definitely wouldn't have been able to last until the end. Di Beichen's expression was indifferent. He admitted that Jun Lingxuan and the others were cultivation geniuses, but these geniuses were still somewhat different compared to them. Because they were more self-trained, while Jun Lingxuan and the others relied on their family's cultivation resources. Although this was the advantage of their family's heritage, it was also a flaw. For cultivators like them who relied on their own strength to reach their current level, their perseverance was definitely not something Jun Lingxuan and the others could compare to. He believed that the other party wouldn't last long. Looking at Di Beichen's confident appearance, Di Xiaofeng raised his eyebrows, obviously thinking about whether he was right or not. Xiao Sou's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. When she saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating with her eyes closed, she couldn't help but curse in her heart. I didn't expect this woman to be so patient. She hasn't left yet. In his line of sight, Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes had already been dyed red with blood. It was obvious that there were countless wounds on her body. In fact, her own situation was not much better than Bailey Hongzhuang's. Every second she stayed here made her feel extremely uncomfortable. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had not left yet. If she gave up just like that, it would be too embarrassing. Compared to the pain, she cared more about her reputation. Jun Lingxuan felt very helpless at this moment. Jun Zitao was originally staying with him, but he couldn't stand the torture and left. He also wanted to leave with Jun Zitao, but Xiao Sou was still here. If he left, he would lose face. 7 days was a complete torture for them. Almost everyone on the deck had left, leaving only the few of them here. He felt that it was normal for the madman of the Great Devil's sect to stay here. After all, this person couldn't be judged by common sense. This kind of cultivation method should be normal for Chen Feng, but he didn't believe that Di Beichen and the others were the same as Chen Feng, all cultivation madmen. Chapter 4799. Even if they could hold on for one more second, it would still be a victory. As long as he gave up first, Di Beichen would have a reason to laugh at him. With this thought, Jun Lingxuan and the others continued to persevere. But another day passed. Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were still the same as before. They did not have the slightest intention to leave. Beichen. Xiren looked at Di Beichen. Yingying's body is a little weak. Her injuries are too serious now. She can't take it anymore. I'll take her to rest first. Xiren naturally did not care about this kind of pain. Although his talent was not as good as Di Beichen's, he had been training with Di Beichen since he was young. His perseverance was definitely not weak. It was just that Shangguan Yingying had always stayed in the sect to cultivate. She rarely went through such training. Since going to Penglai Island, Shangguan Yingying had become much stronger than before. Her endurance had also greatly improved. However, there was still a gap. He understood that Shangguan Yingying had been holding on bitterly and was unwilling to give up. However, her body that was on the verge of collapse revealed that she had already persevered to the limit. Di Beichen also noticed this situation. He quickly said, "Take Yingying to rest. It's good to cultivate below. Hongzhuang's healing medicine is very effective. Remember to apply it to Yingying." Seeing that Xiren was about to take her away, Shangguan Yingying could not help but say, "I can still hold on." "You're already like this. What are you still holding on for?" Xiren looked at Shangguan Yingying with heartache. He did not care about himself. However, seeing Yingying suffer like this, he really felt distressed. On one hand, he hoped that Yingying's strength could be improved and improve her ability to protect herself. On the other hand, he hoped that his strength could improve. As long as he could protect her, so what if Yingying's strength was weak? But everyone is still holding on. I don't want to give up like this. Shangguan Yingying's eyes were slightly red. In this team, her strength was undoubtedly the weakest. She knew this very well and hoped that she could keep up with everyone's pace. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang said, "Yingying, everyone has different cultivation methods. What suits us may not suit you. You didn't have any foundation in body refinement before, so it is indeed very difficult for you to endure here. If you stay here for too long, it will cause irreversible damage to your body." Previously, she did not expect Shangguan Yingying to be able to hold on for so long. Other than the few people who were competing with each other, the rest of the cultivators present had already left. However, she felt that since Yingying was willing to persevere, she would let her persevere for a while longer. She could leave once she couldn't take it anymore. Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but say, "I'll go down as well." This kind of body tempering is too abnormal. Without a solid foundation, it will be hard to endure. Ever since he met Di Beichen and the others, he realized that Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, and Mo Yinjue were all really abnormal. Cultivation was completely masochistic. During this period of time, he had been cultivating very hard. However, when facing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, he really could not say that he was hard-working. You all go down first. Have a good rest. Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. In fact, she and Di Beichen both felt that the environment here was very suitable for their own cultivation. They did not request for everyone to stay here. After struggling for a long time, Jun Lingxuan said, "Miss Xiao, why don't we all go down? Are you also going to leave?" Xiao Shou looked at Jun Lingxuan in surprise. She thought that Jun Lingxuan would also persist to the end. Chapter 48:01. Although he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to win against Di Beichen, it was obvious that Di Beichen's endurance was very terrifying. If he continued to endure like this, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to hold on. If he couldn't hold on and fainted, wouldn't that be even more embarrassing? If we want to win against them, we have plenty of opportunities. We don't have to insist on this kind of thing. Jun Lingxuan said. It was obviously not a wise move to compete with the other party's advantage with their own weakness. The most important thing was that he found that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two's faces had gradually begun to recover from their initial pale state. Their mental state was not the slightest bit sluggish, which was obviously different from how they forced themselves to hold on. If his judgment was correct, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two had gradually adapted to the strength of the wind blades on the deck. Although this discovery made him feel incredulous, he still had to admit that it was true. What's more, he found that he obviously couldn't adapt to all this in a short time. If this continued, it would only continue to widen the gap between the two sides. Since he couldn't win against them, he might as well give up. It was more powerful to leave now. Listening to Jun Lingxuan's words, Xiao Shou's eyes flashed a trace of hesitation. She, who originally wanted to leave, was even more shaken at this moment. Previously, even if she wanted to leave, she couldn't find a reason. Now, Jun Lingxuan's departure had given her a way out. If she didn't leave now, then she really couldn't find a reason to leave in the future. You're right, there's nothing to show on this deck. Let's leave together. Xiao Shou said. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan's eyes flashed with a trace of joy. Okay, let's leave together. After Xiao Sudong heard this, he also let out a sigh of relief. He was really worried that if Xiao Shou continued to stay here, she might lose her life. After staying on the deck for so many days, whether it was Xiao Shou or Jun Lingxuan, they had no strength in their bodies. At this moment, they stood up rashly and almost fell down. Fortunately, Xiao Sudong was right beside them. He hurriedly supported the two of them and asked, "Big sister, are you all right?" Bailey Hongzhuang's cold gaze fell on Xiao Shou and Yi Zichen. As expected, they left in the end. Xiao Shou naturally noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze, and a trace of embarrassment flashed in her eyes. She immediately averted her gaze and pretended not to see it. Nangong Yuqing had been on the deck the whole time. When he saw Jun Lingxuan leaving with Xiao Shou, he didn't continue to stay there. After all, his main target was Xiao Shou. Jun Lingxuan was also his competitor. He couldn't let Jun Lingxuan have the chance to be with Xiao Shou. After Jun Lingxuan and the other two left, only Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, Mo Yinjue, and the great devil Sex Chen Feng were left on the deck. The four of them had their eyes closed and were peacefully cultivating and tempering their bodies. The deck was abnormally quiet. Bailey Hongzhuang felt that although the injuries on her body were very serious, they were gradually healing. Not only that, but she could also feel that her body was constantly strengthening in this state of continuous healing and injury. This was progress. Chen Feng had been cultivating with his eyes closed,
but he still had some understanding of the situation on the deck. Chapter 4802. According to Chen Feng's judgment, the reason Bailey Hongzhuang's group was here was to defeat Xiao Sou's group. Since Xiao Sou's group had already left, there was naturally no need for them to continue staying here. However, half a month had already passed, and Bailey Hongzhuang's group still had no intention of leaving. This proved that from the beginning to the end, Bailey Hongzhuang's group's goal was only to cultivate here and not to defeat their opponents. Seeing Chen Feng suddenly take the initiative to talk to them, Bailey Hongzhuang's group was astonished. According to Di Xiaofeng's introduction, it was almost impossible for Chen Feng to take the initiative to talk to others. This is a good opportunity. Don't you think so too? Di Beichen's lips curled up in a faint smile. He knew that Chen Feng was an extremely pure person. He had no intention of showing off by staying here. All of them believed that this place was suitable for cultivating their bodies. Hearing this, Chen Feng nodded. You're right. This is indeed a good place to cultivate. It's just that those guys don't understand. I originally thought that I was the only one who would stay here. Di Beichen smiled and said, so, we're disturbing your peace. No. Chen Feng raised his eyebrows. Anyone can come here. This is not my private property. If you guys want to stay, it's your business. After saying that, Chen Feng did not say anything else. He closed his eyes again and started cultivating, as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's group looked at each other. It seemed like Di Xiaofeng's introduction was not wrong. This Chen Feng's character was indeed somewhat weird. Mo Yunjue, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, actually, people with this kind of character are quite good. With this kind of character, they are usually upright gentlemen. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. You're right. With his character, I'm afraid he won't even bother to participate in some shady business. Perhaps it's precisely because of his character that he can become the number one existence. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with wisdom. Anyone who wanted to be number one had to have no distracting thoughts. This was the fastest way to improve. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two did not delay any longer and continued to cultivate. They believed that if they stayed here for 3 months, the improvement of their physical bodies would be very obvious. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. As time went by, the physical strength of the three of them improved significantly. The wind blades scraped across their bodies, and the pain they felt was much less than before. Suddenly, several figures appeared on the deck. Beichen, Hongzhuang, something happened. When Xiren's voice rang out. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two opened their eyes. They looked at Xiren in confusion and asked, what happened? Ao Ling Xiao and the Ao clan are fighting. What? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. You guys have been down there for such a long time. Why are you guys suddenly fighting today? Wen Zi explained, after we returned, we have been peacefully cultivating and healing our injuries. After recovering from our injuries, we prepared to come to the deck to cultivate with you guys. However, Ao Ling Xiao bumped into the Ao clan's team on the way here. His elder brother was obviously among them. So, they naturally got into trouble, when Xian explained. What's the situation now? Chapter 4803. The Ao family insisted that Ao Ling Xiao was a traitor to their family and demanded that we hand Ao Ling Xiao over to them. Wen Zirant's complexion was somewhat unsightly. We naturally didn't agree. However, the Ao clan relied on their numbers and called Ao Ling Xiao to stop them. Fortunately, Xiaofeng and the others also rushed over after hearing the news. However, the Jun family and the Xiao family also interfered in this matter, so the situation was very chaotic. I heard from Ling Xiao that there was the shadow of the Jun family behind his big brother. The reason why such a thing happened to his family before was because the Jun family secretly supported his big brother. If it wasn't for that, Ling Xiao wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze darkened. She really didn't have a good impression of the Jun family. As she learned more about the Jun family, she found that this family really liked to do shady things behind the scenes. The Ao family originally had a good relationship with the D family. Although they were only a small family to the D family, they still had some dealings with each other. Now that the Ao family and the Jun family had become one, if he guessed correctly, the Jun family wanted to start with these peripheral forces and isolate the D family step by step. Fortunately, the D family's reaction was very fast, so they weren't affected too much. However, thinking about having such a family and thinking about how to plot against them all day really made him unhappy. The Jun family is indeed a malignant tumor. In order to take you down, they must have racked their brains. Mo Yunjue also spoke out. Di Beichen's gaze was cold. He had already noticed this point. We will take care of the Jun family sooner or later. He knew that Di Yujue was also dealing with the Jun family. If the previous matter wasn't enough to completely anger the Di family, then this time, the Jun family's action against him and Di Xiaofeng had already angered the entire Di family. Now that the two families were already in a state of irreconcilable hatred, a battle would be unavoidable soon. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the magic artifact. This place was naturally extremely spacious. Not only were there rooms, but there were also places for gathering and cultivation. It could be said that there was everything one could wish for. However, the items on the list were also quite expensive. Fortunately, the cultivators inside were not short of money. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the decorations in the surroundings. They were all extremely gorgeous, causing her eyes to light up. However, they were clearly not in the mood to pay attention to all this. The four of them were very fast. Under Xiren's lead, they quickly arrived at Ao Lingxiao's location. From afar, they noticed that the area was already surrounded by cultivators. Whispers could be heard coming from the inside. I didn't think that this person would be Ao Lingxiao of the Ao clan. I heard that he killed his parents in order to seize the position of the clan head. However, he was discovered and fled. It's really hard to imagine that he would actually do such an intolerable thing. The most important thing is that he still dares to come here at this time. He came with the D family. I don't know what's going on with the D family. It's really hard to imagine that they would even accept this kind of person. Isn't that so? I think that this kind of person should directly pay with his life. I really don't know what Di Xiaofeng is thinking. Chapter 4804. Among the crowd, Ao Lingxiao, who was facing everyone's accusations, was livid. The blood drained from his face, and he looked a little pale. Even though he had already expected such a situation to happen when he chose to return, he still found it hard to accept the fact that he was being condemned by everyone when it really happened. Killing one's parents was an unbearable crime no matter when it was pinned on one's head. After hearing the Ao family's accusations against Ao Lingxiao, Lin Taxing and the others were surprised. I have heard about what happened in the Ao family before, but I didn't expect him to be Ao Lingxiao. Lin Taxing frowned slightly. He didn't know much about Ao Lingxiao. He only knew that he was a friend of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. At this moment, when they knew that he was the notorious Ao Lingxiao, they found it hard to believe. They didn't understand how Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen could be friends with such a person. Although they were opponents of the Jun family, they couldn't accept standing here to protect Ao Lingxiao at this moment. They wouldn't even look at such a person on normal days. After the two did such a thing, they were hunted down by the Ao family. I didn't expect them to be so lucky. In the end, they came to the upper world with Beichen and Di Beichen.
Lin Chanshan also said. Lin Yi's eyes flickered with doubts. Ao Lingxiao is quite bold. He knows that he will encounter the Ao family's cultivators here, but he still has the courage to come. Bailey Yunyan stood beside Di Xiaofeng and couldn't help but say, Xiaofeng, what they said shouldn't be true, right? Although she didn't have long contact with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, she knew something about them. In her eyes, if Ao Lingxiao was really such a person, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen would never protect him. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly. There are indeed many problems. Beichen told me that Ao Lingxiao was wronged. When he knew that Beichen's friend was Beichen's Ao clan's Ao Lingxiao, he had talked about this matter with Beichen. Because if the other party was really such a person, then he would definitely not protect him. Killing one's own father and mother, this kind of person should be cut into pieces. However, Beichen told him another truth. In fact, when he first heard that such a thing had happened in the Ao clan, he had become suspicious because it was really too strange. However, since all the members of the Ao clan believed so, he naturally wouldn't delve into it. In addition, the Ao family and the Jun family were very close now. So, he didn't want to know about them. After knowing the truth of Di Beichen's words, he was extremely shocked. After thinking for a long time, he still believed Di Beichen's words. Because, this statement was obviously more convincing than the one passed down by the Ao clan. Most importantly, he understood that if Ao Lingxiao was really such a person, then after the matter was exposed, he wouldn't have the courage to come back at all. With his strength, he would be a powerful existence in the lower realm, but he still chose to come back and face all this. If there wasn't a great injustice, he wouldn't make such a choice. Hearing this, a hint of understanding appeared in Bailey Yunyan's eyes. I know there must be something hidden in this, but the current situation is not easy to deal with. Chapter 4806. Now looking at Ao Zhengquang's appearance, she suddenly understood. This guy was really good at acting. If she didn't know the truth, she would have been completely deceived by this guy. That angry look, that hateful tears, who could doubt it? Ao Zhengquang, don't confuse right and wrong. Obviously, you did all these things. Shangguaniying said. When Ao Zhengquang saw Shangguaniying, his eyes flashed with doubt. He didn't know this woman. I confuse right and wrong. The truth of this matter had already been revealed. In my opinion, you are the one who was deceived by Ao Lingxiao. You really don't make a draft when you lie. Shangguaniying was speechless. She really didn't know what to say when she met this kind of guy who lied without blushing. Miss, you are too naive. Previously, you were in the lower realm and listened to his nonsense. Now, everyone in the upper realm knows the truth of this matter. If you continue to be deceived by him, then it is really. Ao Zhengquang shook his head with a speechless look. His meaning was obvious. If she still believed Ao Lingxiao under such circumstances, then she was really stupid. Ao Zhengquang, don't think that you can just put the dirty water on my head. Ao Lingxiao looked at Ao Zhengquang with bloodshot eyes. The truth will never be buried. Hee hee. Ao Zhengquang sneered. Ao Lingxiao, things have already come to this point and you still want to quibble. I didn't expect that after a trip to the lower realm, your ability to fool people has improved a lot. No wonder you dare to come back. The person who killed my parents is obviously you. Ao Lingxiao's eyes flashed with deep hatred. I have always regarded you as a respectable big brother. But you actually did such a thing for the position of the family head. I know that under your conspiracy, I can't defend myself. But I won't let you confuse right and wrong like this. Even if I die, I will let the family see your face clearly. Otherwise, I won't have the face to see my parents. Hearing Ao Lingxiao's words,
everyone's face changed slightly. They had already recognized the truth. They didn't expect Ao Ling Xiao to say another version. Most importantly, they had never heard of this version before. Ao Ling Xiao, no matter what you say now, it is useless. Everyone knows that you are just quibbling. Ao Zhengquang turned to look at Di Xiaofeng. Obviously, he didn't want to argue with Ao Ling Xiao on this matter. Di Xiaofeng, if you believe what he said, it is too ridiculous. Today, I will definitely bring him away. I hope you can agree to my request on account of the good relationship between our Ao clan and the Di clan. Looking at Ao Jun Quang's aggressive appearance, Di Xiaofeng also frowned. In the absence of evidence, this matter was really difficult to refute. Most importantly, almost everyone believed in Ao Zhengquang. It would be very difficult for Ao Ling Xiao to make a comeback. Emperor Xiaofeng, Ao Zhengquang has already spoken to this point, and you still want to consider? Jun Lingxuan's eyes were filled with sarcasm. Can't you make the decision? Why don't you find Di Beiqin? At this moment, a voice was heard. Jun Lingxuan, we haven't seen each other for a while. You seem to miss me. As soon as the voice fell, Di Beiqin and the others appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 4807. Even if he was facing Di Xiaofeng, Jun Lingxuan didn't think much of it. Because they had been rivals for so many years, they already knew each other like the back of their hands. On the contrary, this Di Beiqin had only appeared for a short time, so he didn't know what the other party would do. Previously, when Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqin teamed up, they had already suffered a loss. Originally, he thought that Di Beiqin's strength wasn't enough, but Nangong Yuqing also suffered a loss, so he couldn't underestimate him. Right now, he didn't know how strong Di Beiqin was or what other methods he had, so it was better to be cautious. Di Beiqin, you finally appeared. Jun Lingxuan said coldly. Di Beiqin's lips curved into a faint smile. It seems that after leaving the deck, you've had a good time here. You don't seem to be weak or tired at all. As soon as these words came out, Jun Lingxuan's lips couldn't help but twitch. On the deck, he had indeed lost to Di Beiqin. But he didn't expect this guy to bring up this matter as soon as he arrived, making his momentum unable to rise. Di Beiqin, you wouldn't want to cover up this scum who killed his parents, would you? Jun Lingxuan cleverly changed the topic. From the previous few confrontations, he had already understood that if he continued to talk about this matter, the one who would suffer in the end would be him. Your Jun family's shady business, aren't you very clear in your heart? Di Beiqin threw out these words lightly, his wise and sharp eyes looking straight at Jun Lingxuan, as if he had seen through everything. Under Di Beiqin's gaze, Jun Lingxuan only felt uncomfortable and couldn't help but feel angry. This guy who appeared out of nowhere really made him unhappy to the extreme. What do you mean by that? Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and his expression became serious. Your character can be seen from the way the Jun family bribed Medicine Master Qin. Di Beiqin's gaze was mild. In order to defeat the Di family, you must have been racking your brains all day long, right? Sorry for troubling you. Di Beiqin, don't talk nonsense. Jun Zitao said angrily. Bailey Hongzhuang also stood up at this moment. What exactly happened, others may not know, but you know very well. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at the people around her, and her voice became louder. As everyone knows, our Di family has always had business dealings with the Ao family. Our relationship is also very good. Moreover, Ao Ling Xiao was already the next patriarch of the Ao clan. There was no need for him to kill his parents. If you were in his shoes, would you do the same? Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the people present were slightly stunned. They didn't know much about this matter, and were just following the crowd. But according to this, Ao Ling Xiao really didn't have to do that. With the Ao family's patriarch's love for Ao Ling Xiao, as long as he wanted to be the next patriarch, the patriarch of the Ao family wouldn't refuse. On the contrary, if Ao Jun Kuang wanted to be the next patriarch, it wouldn't be so easy. Originally, the Ao family and the Di family had a good relationship, and the young patriarch was Ao Ling Xiao. Chapter 4808. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and her eyes fell on Ao Zhengquang. Without a doubt, it's him. Bailey Hongzhuang pointed her finger at Ao Zhengquang. Her sharp eyes seemed to be able to see through people's souls. As the former head of the Bailey family, Bailey Hongzhuang's words were undoubtedly very influential. Her analysis was clear and logical. No loopholes could be found, and it was impossible to refute. Before, almost everyone believed that Ao Zhengquang was telling the truth, but now some people in the crowd began to waver. If this is the case, then what Bailey Hongzhuang said is very reasonable. Ao Lingxiao has no reason to do this. I can testify about this matter. Ao Lingxiao was indeed the young master of the Ao family. So when I heard this news before, I felt very strange. Could it be that Ao Zhengquang really inverted right and wrong? After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lin Taxing couldn't help but say, it seems that Hongzhuang already knew the truth. If what Ao Lingxiao said is true, then Ao Zhengquang is really a scheming person. Lin Qianqian's eyes were full of disgust. Although I still don't know which is true and which is false, the old head of the Ao family and his wife are really sad. They actually gave birth to such a scum and ruined their family. Miss Bailey, you can't talk nonsense. Ao Zhengquang saw that many of the surrounding cultivators began to change their minds and hurriedly said, our family has long had no objection to this matter. Jun Lingxuan also said, that's right. Why should we believe your one-sided story? Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, what I said is the truth. If Ao Zhengquang is really wholeheartedly for the good of the family, then he should follow his father's thoughts. Why did Ao Zhengquang have a close relationship with the Jun family as soon as he became the head of the family? The smile in Di Beichen's eyes gradually deepened. Jun Lingxuan, do you think there is a possibility that your Di family is supporting Ao Zhengquang in order to disintegrate my Di family's power? If Di Zhai's and the others had thought that Ao Lingxiao's matter had nothing to do with them, after hearing this, they suddenly understood. In the past, the cooperation between the Ao clan and us had always been pretty good. Later on, they suddenly stopped cooperating. I still felt that it was a little strange. So this is where the problem lies. Daiheoan had a look of realization on his face, as if he had suddenly figured out the problem that he had been unable to figure out before. That's right. If all of this is true, then the Jun family is really unscrupulous. A look of disgust appeared on Di Zhai's face. He was already filled with disgust towards the Jun family, but he didn't expect them to go this far. Lin Qianqian had an incredulous look on her face. If that's really the case, then it's really terrifying. The struggle between the aristocratic families was often very complicated. There weren't many things that were exposed on the surface, but when all of this was exposed, the bloody reality was really hard to accept. Jun Lingxuan and the others, who had been maintaining their calm until now, could no longer remain calm after hearing Di Beichen's words. They hurriedly said, Di Beichen, what nonsense are you talking about? Why do you say that I'm talking nonsense? Di Beichen asked back. Chapter 4809. Do you have evidence? Di Beichen looked indifferent. If there is no evidence, then why do you say that I am talking nonsense? I don't need evidence. You are talking nonsense. Jun Lingxuan said without hesitation. Then we don't need evidence. What Ao Lingxiao said is the truth. Mo Yinjue's cold voice sounded. As soon as these words came out, Jun Lingshuan could not help but be stunned. His face suddenly became more ugly. He did not expect to be tricked by Di Baichen again. Everyone, don't be fooled by their words. They are completely inverting right and wrong. Ao Zhengquang's eyes flashed with a trace of panic. Originally, the situation was in his hands. He did not expect that in the blink of an eye, the situation would completely change. All of this changed when Bailey Hongzhuang and others appeared. He did not expect these people to be so good at talking. Shengguan Yingying breathed a sigh of relief and secretly said, "Sure enough, this kind of thing should be handed over to Beichen and Hongzhuang. What we said before was useless." When they came, the situation completely changed. Previously, everyone believed that Ao Zhengquang was right. They only felt that it was impossible to argue. Now, everyone's thoughts began to waver. When Ziren listened to Shengguan Yingying's words and could not help but chuckle. Beichen and Hongzhuang have always been good at talking. They are good at this kind of thing. If Ling Xiao had this kind of talking skill before, he would not have been suppressed by Ao Zhengquang. Yes. Shengguan Yingying nodded in agreement. Just now, Ling Xiao was completely suppressed by Ao Zhengquang. He did not even have the strength to refute. It is indeed not convincing. We are inverting right and wrong. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. When it comes to the ability to invert right and wrong, I am afraid that no one is better than you, right? In order to be able to become the head of the family, you can even do such a thing. Don't you feel condemned in your heart? Don't talk nonsense here. Ao Jun Kuang was also enraged. In any case, you must hand Ao Ling Xiao over to me today. This is our Ao family's matter. We don't need you to interfere. As he spoke, Ao Jun Kuang stretched out his hand and grabbed Ao Ling Xiao. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Ao Ling Xiao had to die. Only when Ao Ling Xiao died would the truth be buried forever. He didn't expect that Ao Ling Xiao would actually get involved with the Di family, which made things a lot more complicated. Di Xiaofeng slapped Ao Ling Xiao's hand away, his eyes cold. This matter is related to the Di family, and it's not just your business anymore. Before we get to the bottom of this, you can't take Ao Ling Xiao away. Seeing this, Ao Jun Kuang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. It seemed that it was impossible to take Ao Ling Xiao away today. This matter is the Ao clan's own matter to begin with. Perhaps you guys are simply distorting the truth. Xiao Shou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Words have no proof. This matter has already happened for so long. There is no evidence at all. If you want to quibble, no matter what you say, Ao Zhengquang can't produce any evidence. However, so many people in the Ao clan are blinded by him. Bailey Hongzhuang, even if your mouth is powerful, the truth is the truth. There is no use in quibbling. Chapter 48:10. Xiao Shou naturally heard the sarcasm in Bailey Hongzhuang's words, and a hint of coldness flashed in her eyes. What I said is the truth. The situation of the two of them is completely opposite. Obviously, one of them must be lying. This matter has been over for so long, and there is no evidence. If someone wants to quibble, then naturally, they just have to say the opposite. Miss Xiao is really understanding. Finally, someone came out to speak justice for me. Otherwise, this demon girl will confuse right and wrong. When Ao Zhengquang saw Xiao Shou stand up, a hint of joy flashed on his face. He was also eloquent, but when Bailey Hongzhuang's people said that just now, he didn't know how to answer. Who are you calling a demon girl? Lin Yi heard Ao Zhengquang's address to Bailey Hongzhuang, and immediately questioned. Ao Zhengquang was also intimidated by Lin Yi's momentum for a while. After a moment of shock, he replied, I said she is a demon girl. The truth of this matter is already known to everyone. After what she said, this matter was completely reversed. If it is not misleading, then what is it? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled, this address is quite good. She found that many people would demonize the other party when they couldn't out-talk the other party. She didn't care about such a title. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent look, Eo Zhengquang's face was a little ugly. This person is completely stubborn. Saying that our Hongzhuang is a demon girl, I think you are the pig head. Shangguan Yingying glanced at Eo Zhengquang coldly. Since this guy appeared, the more she looked at him, the more she disliked him. When she thought that this guy was an animal who killed his parents, she felt that such a title was really suitable for him. No matter what, this guy wasn't human. You. What about you? Am I wrong? Before Eo Zhengquang finished speaking, Shangguan Yingying directly retorted. Yingying, don't insult pigs, Di Beichen said lightly. When these words were spoken, everyone present was stunned. When they realized the true meaning of these words, everyone could not help but cover the corners of their mouths and laugh. Seeing that everyone was laughing at him, Eo Zhengquang's face became more and more ugly. This matter was originally our family's matter. It's fine if you want to forcibly intervene, but now you're actually insulting me. Could it be that you're bullying my Ao clan because there's no one else? Eo Zhengquang's face was filled with anger. He was now the patriarch of the Ao family. In terms of status, he was a level higher than Di Beichen and the others. After all, they were only young masters, while he was already the patriarch of a family. As Eo Zhengquang's voice fell, the cultivators of the Ao clan also stood out. Their meaning was very obvious. If they really wanted to fight, they would not be afraid. Just then, Lin Taxing stepped forward and said, actually, it's not impossible to discern the truth. What's the way? Ao Lingxiao quickly asked. In the past, he thought that as long as Di Beichen was willing to help him, he could take back the Ao clan. But now, it seemed that he had been too naive about everything. Strength was naturally the most important, but if the people of the family did not believe him and thought that he was a traitor, then even if he suppressed Eo Zhengquang, the family would not accept him. Chapter 48:11. Under such circumstances, the best way was to reveal the truth of what had happened back then to the world. In this way, there was no need for him to explain further. Everyone in the clan would understand everything. After seeing Ao Lingxiao's reaction, Eo Zhengquang's face immediately showed an urgent expression. He asked, what's the way? I must reveal everything to the world so that others can no longer confuse the truth. Looking at Eo Zhengquang's indignant expression, Xiren and the others looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. This guy was simply a drama queen. No wonder so many people in the Ao clan were deceived by him. It is said that the Holy Assembly has a way to distinguish between right and wrong, but only the Holy Maiden of Light can do it. Lin Taxing's gaze fell on Xiao Soul. If it was something else, it would be difficult for us to do it. However, the next Holy Maiden of Light is here. Miss Xiao is so righteous. I'm sure she will agree. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Xiao Soul. That's right. I also heard that the Holy Assembly does have such a secret method. However, because the Holy Maiden of Light has not appeared for many years, there has been no news. This is the best method for things like this where we can't find any evidence and it's hard to determine the truth. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had never heard that the Holy Assembly had such a method. However, if it really did exist, it would be the best way to help Ao Lingxiao clear his name. Even if Xiao Sou became the Holy Maiden of Light and wanted to help Ao Zhengquang, she would not be able to fake it in front of everyone. Ao Junquang's heart thumped when he heard that there was such a method. He had thought that he had done a clean job, but he hadn't been able to kill Ao Lingxiao. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so much trouble later on. Even if Ao Lingxiao was now connected to Di Beichen and the others, he was still not worried because Ao Lingxiao could not find any evidence to refute all of this. However, if such a method really existed, then the truth might really be revealed one day. At that time, he would really be finished. Thinking of this, Ao Zhengquang could not help but look nervously at Jun Lingxuan. Jun Lingxuan naturally guessed the worry in Ao Zhengquang's heart, and immediately gave him a reassuring look. If it was in the past, he might not have been confident, but now that they had joined forces with the Shao family, Shao Sou could be said to be one of their own, there was no need to worry about anything else. After noticing Jun Lingxuan's eyes, Ao Zhengquang was relieved and his face once again showed a calm expression. In that case, we'll wait for Miss Shao to distinguish right from wrong, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a faint smile. Looking at the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips, Shao Sou felt inexplicably dazzled. I just don't know when this Shao Sou will truly become the saintess of the light. That's right. All bark and no bite. It's been so long and there's still no successor. I'm starting to wonder if the news that was released before was fake. It shouldn't be, but there must be a problem. Otherwise, it wouldn't be delayed for so long. For a moment, everyone's attention shifted to Shao Sou. Regarding this, everyone was also full of doubts. Chapter 48:12. Don't worry. If there is really such a method, I will definitely distinguish between right and wrong. Shao Sou gritted her teeth. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled sweetly. That's great. Ao Zhengquang, who was at the side, couldn't help but say anxiously after hearing this. Then this matter is over. It was not easy for him to seize this opportunity to capture Ao Lingxiao. If he gave up just like that, it would be too difficult to accept. Ao Zhengquang, if we hand Ao Lingxiao over to you now, I think you will kill him to silence him, right? Before the truth is clear, Ao Lingxiao will absolutely not go back to the Ao family with you. Di Xiaofeng said coldly. From the beginning to the end, their attitude was very firm. No matter what, they would not let Ao Lingxiao leave. He did such an intolerable thing. He should be punished according to the family law. Ao Zhengquang immediately retorted. Young Master Jun, what do you think of this matter? Ao Zhengquang looked at Jun Lingxuan for help. He knew very well that the Ao family and the Di family were not on the same level, so no matter what he said, it had no deterrent effect on the Di family. However, once Jun Lingxuan intervened, things would be different. Ao Lingxiao is in our hands. You can rest assured. As long as there is a need to confront in the future, he will definitely participate. He will never run away. Di Beichen's voice slowly sounded, directly interrupting Jun Lingxuan's words. Jun Lingxuan looked at Di Beichen coldly. Since this guy appeared, their plan had been hindered. Originally, Ao Zhengquang's matter was done cleanly. If Di Beichen and the others had not found Ao Lingxiao, there would not be such a thing. They must deal with Ao Lingxiao as soon as possible. Otherwise, no one knew what would happen next. Although Shao Sou was already one of them, he did not know why when he saw Di Beichen and the others' confident appearance, he was always worried that there would be other changes in this matter. In fact, ever since these people appeared, there had been various changes in their plans. Since young Master Di has already said so, I hope you can keep your word. Young Master Jun can rest assured. We've always been men of our word. As long as some people can restrain themselves and stop thinking about killing people to silence them, it will be fine. As soon as he said that, Jun Lingxuan's gaze became even more gloomy. He looked at Di Beichen as if he couldn't wait to make him disappear from this world. I think you're thinking too much, Jun Lingxuan said coldly. I hope so too. Di Beichen's face was calm, as if he didn't feel the hostility in Jun Lingxuan's words. If there's nothing else, then everyone can leave. Di Xiaofeng looked at the people gathered together. These people were obviously here to watch the show. Before we find out the truth, I hope that everyone will not accuse Ao Ling Xiao of murdering his parents. After all, there are still many suspicious points in this matter. I believe that all of you are smart people. You should be able to understand where the problem lies. Di Xiaofeng's handsome face had a faint smile. In a few words, he had already magnified the problem of this matter, causing everyone to begin to think about the problem. Chapter 48:13. After everyone left, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others returned to the house. Lin Taxing and the others didn't leave either. Instead, they followed Di Beichen and the others. They had a lot of doubts about this matter. Di Beichen, is what you just said true? As soon as they entered the house, Lin Taxing's voice rang out. He really had too many doubts. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation outside wasn't appropriate, he would have asked long ago. Di Beichen nodded slightly, yes, it's all true. Hearing Di Beichen's affirmative answer, the Di family and the Lin family's eyes flashed with deep emotions. I really didn't expect the Ao family to have such a big conspiracy. If all of this was planned by the Jun family, then they are too terrifying. Lin Qianqian's eyes flashed with shock. The news of killing one's parents had shocked everyone when it came out. At first, they all thought that Ao Lingxiao was wicked beyond redemption. They really didn't expect that the mastermind behind all of this was the Jun family. The Jun family has never been a good person. In order to deal with us all these years, it can be said that they have done everything possible. In this alchemy competition, if it wasn't for Hong Zhuang, then our situation would be very bad. Di Xiaofeng's eyes rippled with coldness. In his eyes, the Jun family was completely like a poisonous snake, always watching them. He didn't know when it would bite them. This feeling was undoubtedly very uncomfortable. I think we should get rid of these abominable people from the Jun family as soon as possible. Di Zhai's eyes were full of disgust. They can even use such despicable means. Who knows what terrible things they will do in the future. Ao Lingxiao, can you tell us in detail what happened back then? Di Xiaofeng looked at Ao Lingxiao with a serious expression. Before, he only heard Di Beichen say that Ao Lingxiao was innocent, but he didn't know much about the conspiracy. Today, after confronting Ao Zhengquang, he found out that the reason why Ao Lingxiao's family was in fact very much related to the Di family. When Ao Lingxiao saw that the Di family had chosen to believe in him, his eyes flashed with a touch of gratitude. Although he understood that all this trust was because of Di Beichen and the others, this trust was very precious to him after he had been despised by everyone. Then, Ao Lingxiao explained the situation to everyone. After hearing all this, everyone's eyes flashed with understanding. The celestial bluestone of the Ao clan is actually a very important cultivation resource. The celestial bluestone that our clan needed was always provided by the Ao clan. All these years, there has never been any unhappiness. It seems that the Jun family has taken a fancy to the celestial blue stone of the Ao family. That's why they came up with this plan. It's really a good plan. Ao Zhengquang himself wanted to be the head of the family, but no one in the family supported him. With the support of the Jun family, he accomplished everything. Now, they have pushed all the blame on Ao Lingxiao, and he has become the righteous leader. It's really a good plan. Lin Qianqian sighed. This matter was really terrifying. Even they had to admit that the Jun family's plan was really good. Chapter 48:14. Everyone had some doubts about this situation before, but after hearing everything that Ao Lingxiao said, they completely believed this version of the story. When this happened to the Ao family, they felt that the situation was a little far-fetched. In addition, the Jun family was involved. Even if there was no proof, they were already certain in their hearts. So, it must have been hard for you all these years. Lin Qianqian sighed as she looked at Ao Lingxiao. They were more concerned about the Jun family's conspiracy, but in fact, Ao Lingxiao was the most pitiful person in the entire incident. Not only did he lose his parents in a single night, but his own elder brother had also turned into such a vicious person. Moreover, he had to bear this unbearable infamy. It was not easy for him to have the courage to come back here. As soon as Lin Qianqian finished speaking, everyone in the room turned to look at Ao Lingxiao. Thinking about it carefully, if they were Ao Lingxiao, they probably wouldn't be able to endure such a situation. I will definitely reveal the truth to the world. Ao Lingxiao's eyes were burning with a stubborn flame. Although my brother killed his parents, if it were not for the Jun family adding fuel to the fire, this would not have happened. He knew that his biggest enemy was the Jun family. Lingxiao, don't worry. The Jun family is also our enemy. Di Beichen patted Ao Lingxiao on the shoulder. He knew what the other party was thinking. The Jun family was a malignant tumor. If the Jun family could not be uprooted, even he would not be at ease. Ao Lingxiao looked deeply at Di Beichen. After seeing the sincerity and determination in his eyes lit up with hope. Di Beichen was undoubtedly the person he was most grateful to. Di Beichen gave him hope. If he had not met Di Beichen, he would not even have the courage to come to the upper realm. It seems that after we enter the Divine Cloud's secret realm, we must be more careful, especially to protect Ling Xiao. Lin Taxing looked serious. After they enter, they will definitely find a way to find Ling Xiao and make a move on him. Once the truth is revealed to the public, it will be a huge blow to them. As an aristocratic family, reputation had always been very important. Once their reputation was tarnished, they would be despised by many. As soon as he said this, everyone nodded in agreement. After entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, everyone will actually appear in different places. When the time comes, we will gather as soon as possible. No matter what, we must protect Ling Xiao. Di Xiaofeng said in a deep voice. They absolutely could not let Jun Lingxuan and the others succeed in this matter. All right. Not long after Jun Lingxuan returned to his house, Ao Zhengquang appeared in his house. Young Master Jun, what should we do now? Ao Jun Quang asked nervously. Pa! Jun Lingxuan raised his hand and gave Ao Zhengquang a slap in the face. The slap sent the other party spinning in a circle. It's all your fault. Jun Lingxuan couldn't hide the anger on his face. We had already planned everything for you. Everything should have been foolproof, but you left behind such a big weakness. Chapter 48:15. Young Master Jun Ao Zhengquang covered his red and swollen face with one hand, but he didn't dare to grumble with that flattering smile of his. Back then, I didn't handle the matter well enough and let that little bastard escape, which led to the current situation. I didn't think that his luck would be so good that he would meet Di Beichen in the lower realm. Now, we definitely can't let him tell the truth. Otherwise, it will be really troublesome. Do I need you to tell me that? Jun Zitao snorted and turned to Jun Lingxuan, Big brother, we definitely can't let them have a chance. After entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, the first thing we have to do is kill Ao Lingxiao. Jun Lingxuan nodded, killing Ao Lingxiao is indeed the best way. As long as we don't confront him, then even if Di Beichen guesses the truth, it will be useless. Di Beichen and the others definitely know that we have this idea. So, it won't be so easy to accomplish it. Jun Zitao sighed, I feel that Di Beichen's appearance is a variable. Originally, we could completely suppress the Di family this time. Who would have thought that things would turn out like this? Indeed. Jun Lingxuan frowned, Di Beichen is really lucky. Back then, he fell into the lower realm and didn't die. Now, he has brought us so much trouble. Big brother, I don't think that things have reached that point. Hasn't the Xiao family already joined forces with us? Jun Zitao's eyes shone brightly. As long as we get Xiao Shou to stand on our side, we might be able to use this matter to bring down the Di family. That's right. Let's say that they did it on purpose for the celestial blue stone. Ao Zhengquang said. Things aren't that simple. Jun Lingshuan's eyes were deep. Although the Xiao family has indeed joined forces with us, their attitude isn't clear enough. If we want them to be worthy of our trust, there must be something that binds us together. Now is not the time. All these years, they had always wanted to cooperate with the Xiao family, but the Xiao family's attitude towards them was also very clear. If it weren't for the incident with Di Beichen, they probably wouldn't have been able to cooperate with the Xiao family at all. Even though they were now allies on the surface, he knew very well that the trust between them was not enough. If he could marry Xiao Shou, then there would be no problem. Big brother, you've really thought it through. Jun Zitao sighed. If that's the case, then this is the only way we have now. Let's do our best. Jun Lingshuan nodded. I hope God will be on our side this time. Once they entered the immortal cloud mystic realm, it would depend on whose luck was better and who could find Ao Lingxiao first. Bailey Hongzhuang freshened up and changed into a clean set of clothes before walking out of the house. Di Beichen and the rest were obviously waiting for her to eat together. Although they were currently on a flying magic tool, there was everything here. Only then did Bailey Hongzhuang realize that there was actually a chef here, in order to prepare meals for everyone. Not only that, these meals were made from the flesh of demonic beasts, which was very beneficial for them. Chapter 48:16. Looking at Xiren's expression of, "You guys are really wastrels, you guys are really willful," Di Xiaofeng and the others felt it was funny. With your daily treatment, even if you don't cultivate, just eating more will help your cultivation. Sheng Guaniying couldn't help but sigh. These monsters were all very powerful. Their flesh and blood contained origin energy. Through eating every day, they could increase their strength and improve their own flesh and blood to a certain extent. Although that's the case, according to my estimation, no one would eat so much every day, right? Mo Yinjue said slowly. Hearing this, Xiren nodded. You're right. That's really a rice bucket. Ao Lingxiao was eating quietly at the side. After experiencing what had just happened, his mood was obviously not good. Although this matter had eased a bit, he was very clear that in everyone's eyes, he was still that heinous guy who killed his parents. If he couldn't clear his name, then he wouldn't be able to raise his head in this life. Noticing Ao Lingxiao's mood, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at each other with a trace of helplessness in their eyes. This kind of thing could only be resolved by Ao Lingxiao himself. Their consolation was useless. However, according to their understanding of Ao Lingxiao, he would definitely not be defeated by this kind of thing. By the way, do you guys plan to go to the deck later? Bailey Hongzhuang didn't forget the reason why Ao Lingxiao and the others met Ao Zhengquang today. That's right. Now that our injuries have healed, we plan to go up and challenge again. Sheng Guaniying nodded. Last time, because she couldn't hold on, she had been depressed in her heart. Therefore, now that her injuries had healed, she wanted to go back to the deck immediately. Her thinking was very simple. Her foundation was indeed not as good as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, but didn't everyone go through the same thing? If the first time wasn't enough, then the second time. If the second time wasn't enough, then the third time. As long as she didn't give up, she would be able to catch up with everyone sooner or later. The most important thing was that she couldn't give up. Seeing the strong fighting spirit in Sheng Guaniying's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips raised into a faint smile. Then we'll go up together later. The current Ying was no longer as delicate as before. Obviously, she was now more charming. Then I have to eat more. Staying on the deck, it's inconvenient to even eat. Xiren revealed a helpless expression. The wind on the deck made them unable to stand stably. Even if they took out food, they simply didn't know where it would be gone. Fortunately, with their current strength, even if they didn't eat for a period of time, there wouldn't be any problems. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to stay on the deck for a long time. Chapter 48:17. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest returned to the deck, they unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. Di Zhai's. Di Beichen and the rest looked at Di Zhai's in astonishment. They had not expected him to return. In fact, Di Zhai's had stayed on the deck for a long time. However, they did not pay much attention to him. Although they were on the same side as Di Zhai's, due to Di Zhai's looking down on Bailey Hongzhuang, they did not have a good impression of Di Zhai's. Hence, they did not have much contact with him. Di Zhai's noticed that after Di Beichen and the rest appeared, he only nodded and closed his eyes, not saying anything else. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. It seemed that Di Xiaofeng was right. Although Di Zhai's personality was not good, he was not weak. At the very least, this kind of suffering was not something an ordinary person could endure. They came from the lower realm and did not have as many cultivation methods as the upper realm. Hence, many of the methods they used were struggling on the line between life and death. On the contrary, the upper realm's aristocratic family members had many methods to improve themselves. Hence, very few people were willing to try this method. Di Zhai's was willing to do this. At the very least, it proved that he was a person with perseverance. In their line of sight, Chen Feng was still the same as when they left. He was like an old monk in meditation, not showing any signs of moving. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest did not delay any longer. They immediately sat down and started cultivating. As soon as they came up, Shang Guanyin felt the terrifying wind blade. The fierce wind blew past her, causing her to feel a wave of pain. After noticing Shang Guanying's expression, Xiren could not help but ask, "Ying, can you do it?" Shang Guanying nodded and said with a serious gaze, "I can do it. I feel that compared to before, my endurance seems to be stronger now." Hearing this, Xiren's eyes flashed with a trace of a smile. "That's good." A faint smell of blood lingered on the deck. Although everyone's bodies were gradually strengthening under this tempering, injuries were still unavoidable. Their clothes were still dyed bright red, gradually turning dark red. No one made a sound, silently enduring everything. Time flew by quickly in this process. In the blink of an eye, there were only 7 days left until 3 months had passed. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others who were on the deck could clearly feel that the speed of the flying magic tool had slowed down recently. It was obvious that they were close to the immortal cloud mystic realm and were searching for the entrance. Suddenly, Chen Feng, who had his eyes closed, opened them and stood up. His face was still cold as he walked down the deck without looking sideways. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also exited their cultivation state. Di Beichen looked at the surroundings and said, "I'm afraid we are about to reach the immortal cloud's secret realm. I think we should return as well." "That's right. Before we enter the immortal cloud's secret realm, we have to adjust our condition. We can't enter with injuries all over our bodies. This will affect our performance." Xiren nodded. "Then let's go back." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. In the past 2 months, she could clearly feel the increase in her physical strength. At the beginning, the power of the wind blade was still unbearable for her. However, these wind blades could no longer affect her too much. Chapter 48:18. Di Zhi's looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest. His lips moved, but he did not say anything in the end. After experiencing the previous conflict, the relationship between them was really not good. Just as everyone was about to leave, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a bottle of healing medicine and handed it to Di Beichen. Seeing this, Di Beichen looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang and immediately understood what she meant. Di Zhi's. Hearing this voice, Di Zhi's stopped in his tracks and looked at Di Beichen. What's the matter? This is for you. Di Beichen threw the healing medicine to Di Zhi's. Di Zhi's caught it and looked at the porcelain bottle in his hand. His eyes were filled with doubt. What is this? This is the healing medicine that Hongzhuang concocted. It is very effective for external injuries and the recovery speed is very fast. Di Beichen explained. Although medicinal pills also had a healing effect, the effect of Bailey Hongzhuang's healing medicine was unexpectedly good. Even medicinal pills couldn't compare to it. It was because of this that they usually used this healing medicine when they were injured. Although their injuries were not light, they were not worried at all. Before entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they would be able to recover quickly. Di Zhi's looked at the white porcelain bottle in his hand and was slightly stunned. His expression was a little stiff, but he finally opened his mouth and said, "Thank you." "No need, we are all teammates," Di Beichen said. Although he did not have a good impression of Di Zhi's, they were all members of the Di family. Generally speaking, they were all teammates. Di Zhi's gaze moved between Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang for a moment. Finally, he fixed his gaze on Bailey Hongzhuang. "I am very sorry for what happened in the past." As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. She really didn't expect that a person like Di Zhi would apologize to her. Clearly, Di Zhi was not used to apologizing. After he finished speaking, he quickly left. Looking at his departing figure, Xiren couldn't help but say, "Looks like this Di Zhi has finally figured out the situation. I thought he wouldn't make a mistake. Although he is quite arrogant, he still cares about the Di family." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with understanding. In the past, she had always felt that Di Beichen was targeting her and Di Beichen. The most important reason was that Di Zhi had appeared and taken away his position. However, after this period of interaction, she suddenly understood a little. To Di Zhi, what he cared about the most was his family. His previous contempt towards her was not because of her, but because he felt that she had affected the reputation of the Di family. Now that so many things had happened, he understood everything. "Let him be," Di Beichen said calmly. He didn't care what kind of personality Di Zhi had. The most important thing was that Di Zhi had not come looking for trouble recently. If this guy still dared to say anything bad about Hongzhuang, he would not hold back, even if he was a member of the Di family. Not long after, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest returned to their lodgings and began to recuperate in seclusion. Before entering the Immortal Cloud's secret territory, they had to quickly adjust their condition. Otherwise, they might fall behind the others. When Di Xiaofeng saw that Di Beichen and the rest had finally returned, he heaved a sigh of relief. Now, they just had to wait to enter the Immortal Cloud secret territory. Chapter 48:19. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly walked out of the house when she sensed that the flying device had stopped. Indeed, she realized that everyone had already come out of the house and gathered together. "We have found the entrance to the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm. Everyone can enter the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm soon." A steady and loud voice was clearly heard by everyone present. This person was the person in charge of the team. "Before we enter, I have something to remind all of you. There are directional markings on your identity tokens. The Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm is a place where you can change directions at any time. Therefore, after you enter, you may not be able to differentiate between north, south, east and west. The direction of the exit will always be marked on your identity tokens. You will only be in the immortal cloud mystic realm for 1 year. Once the time is up, you must come out. Otherwise, you will have to wait for 10 years. No one knows what will happen in the immortal cloud mystic realm within 10 years. Therefore, do not try in vain. At least, no one has ever come out after 10 years. After you enter, all of you will be randomly teleported to any place. Be careful. After 1 year, we will pick you up at the exit. If you miss the time, we will not wait for you anymore. If there are no other questions, you may enter now. None of the people present had any objections. They already knew about this when they left their clans. Instantly, everyone walked up to the deck. In the clouds, a huge door slowly appeared. It was like the door to the immortal realm. Wife, be careful after you enter. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang worriedly. It was a pity that the immortal cloud mystic realm was randomly teleported. If only they could travel together, that would be great. Don't worry. With White Dragon, White Lion and Xiao He by my side, I will be fine. Bailey Hongzhuang said, you, on the other hand, must be more careful. White Dragon's cultivation level was needless to say. White Lion's cultivation level was also high enough. With them by her side, there was no need to worry at all. If not for the fact that everyone here could see clearly, she really wanted to let Di Beichen enter the Chaos Ring. That way, they would appear at the same place. I will be fine too. Di Beichen gave Bailey Hongzhuang a reassuring look. After you enter, try to gather with the family disciples as soon as possible. This is the safest way. I will. In the next moment, under the instructions of the team leader, one by one, the cultivators leaped into the huge door. As soon as she arrived at the gate, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a strong suction force, and then her whole body was merged into the light. When Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes again, she found herself standing in a misty world. As far as the eye could see, there was a vast expanse of whiteness all around. It was impossible to see the situation in the distance. Master, why is there so much fog here? The immortal cloud white, white dragon, on the other hand, the white dragon, white, continued. In the words of the white dragon, she would rather stay in the chaos ring and cultivate in seclusion than participate in such a trial. She wouldn't come out unless there was something urgent. Bailey Hongzhuang did not insist. With the white dragon's strength, this kind of trial was indeed meaningless to her. Chapter 48:20. I'm not sure. Perhaps this is the environment of the immortal cloud's secret realm? Bailey Hongzhuang said uncertainly, however, the vital energy in this fog is very dense. If we stay here, our cultivation speed will be very fast. Master, I've heard that there are many spiritual herbs in the immortal cloud's secret realm. This kind of environment should be very suitable for spiritual herbs to grow, right? Baisher's voice rang out. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. She nodded and said, that's right. This kind of environment is the most suitable for spiritual herbs to grow. Could it be that our luck is so good that we've directly arrived at a place where spiritual herbs grow? Xiao Hei's eyes sparkled. If that was really the case, then their luck was just too good. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, that's not entirely impossible. However, if that's really the case, then our luck is just too good. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the identity token in her hand. Indeed, she noticed that there was a direction marked on the identity token. Clearly, that direction was where the exit was. Since that's the exit, we should go in the opposite direction. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a thoughtful light, a year's time is still early. We can go deeper. No one knew how big the immortal cloud's secret realm was. However, she believed that everyone would think of ways to go deeper. Only then would they be able to obtain more resources. After walking for a while, they would probably meet other cultivators, so she was not in a hurry. Let's take a look around. If there are any spiritual herbs nearby, that would be great. Xiao He and Baishe nodded in agreement. As an alchemist, Bailey Hongzhuang's need for spiritual herbs was not small. If they could find some spiritual herbs here, it would undoubtedly be great. The woman and the two beasts began to walk deeper. However, after walking for a while, they did not find any spiritual herbs. Most importantly, this area was extraordinarily big. It's so foggy. Fortunately, there are directions. Otherwise, it would be a complete maze. There's no way to tell. Xiao He was speechless. This situation was a little too strange. Since they've given us a year's time, we know that the area here must be very large. Don't worry, let's take our time. White Lion appeared to be much calmer. In any case, he had already mentally prepared himself. For the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang had been moving in the same direction, but she didn't meet anyone else along the way. She did not stay on the road for too long. On the contrary, she walked very quickly. If she wanted to compete for resources, she naturally had to race against time. Otherwise, once she fell behind others, she was afraid that there would be nothing left. Master, is the fog gradually fading? Xiao He looked at its surroundings. Although this feeling was not obvious, after walking for a while, it felt that the fog was gradually thinning, and its range of vision was much wider than before. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently, it has indeed become fainter. It seems that not all of the immortal cloud's secret realm is like this. We're finally going to walk out of this fog. It's so foggy all day, it's really uncomfortable. White Lion sighed exasperatedly. With such a range of vision, if one did not use their spiritual awareness to observe their surroundings, it would be very difficult for them to notice even if someone were to sneak up on them. Chapter 48-21. According to Bailey Hongzhuang's judgment, although the divine cloud's secret realm was not small, she had walked for so many days. Logically speaking, she should have met other cultivators by now. As she walked, a strange look suddenly flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Master, have you discovered something? Noticing the change in Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Baishe could not help but ask. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile as she said, I smell the fragrance of medicinal herbs. As soon as she said this, Baishe and Xiao He's eyes lit up. All this while, their goal had been to find spiritual herbs. They had thought that they would not be able to find any in a short period of time. They did not expect to suddenly discover spiritual herbs. Even though they had not seen it with their own eyes, they believed in Bailey Hongzhuang's judgment. As an alchemist, Bailey Hongzhuang was very familiar with the smell of spiritual herbs. She would definitely not make a mistake. Then let's go quickly, Xiao He hurriedly said. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang also increased her speed and rushed towards the location of the spiritual herbs. When Bailey Hongzhuang stopped in her tracks, her face was full of shock. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Xiao He was also dumbfounded when she saw everything in front of her. Baishe shook his head, since the three of us have seen it, then you're not seeing things. In their line of sight, there was a huge medicinal field. There were many spiritual herbs growing in it and the rich vitality was extremely shocking. Master, what grade of spiritual herbs are these? Baishe turned his head and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Previously, when they were in the outside world, they had heard that there were many spiritual herbs here. However, they did not know if they were top-grade spiritual herbs. Most of them are 7th and 8th grade spiritual herbs. There are also a few ninth-grade spiritual herbs. Her ink-black almond-shaped eyes flashed with astonishment. This huge field of spiritual herbs was simply too shocking. After all, spiritual herbs of this grade were extremely valuable. Previously, in order to become a level 8 alchemist, she had taken a lot of 8th grade spiritual herbs from the D family. Just those spiritual grasses alone were already very rare, but compared to this medicinal field in front of him, how could they be considered as anything? Let's move quickly. After recovering from her shock, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately reacted. No one knew when the other cultivators would appear, so they had to take these spiritual herbs for themselves as soon as possible. Yes. Xiao He and Baisher immediately returned to their senses as well. These were all treasures, cultivation resources. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly walked into the medicinal field. The method she took was far more terrible than others, because she directly moved the entire medicinal field into her primordial chaos ring. On that empty space's eyes. Were eyes to her to Hongzhuang to move her Hongzhuang's palace. She also Bailey Hongzhuang's. Moving this medicinal field into her chaos ring was the most appropriate thing to do. Most importantly, this was the fastest way. However, the empty space behind the chaos ring was not as big as the medicinal field in front of her. Hence, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately rushed to the medicinal field where the 9th grade spiritual herbs were growing. There were even 10th grade spiritual herbs among them. With a single thought, she moved the entire medicinal field into her chaos ring. Xiao He and Baisher, who were busy picking spiritual herbs, could not help but gape when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang's actions. Their master was indeed their master. Her actions were truly domineering. Chapter 48-22. Master, should we call the White Dragon out for help? Xiao He's hands did not stop moving as she suggested this. With so many high-grade herbs, even if they were to pick them as fast as they could, it would not be something that could be done in a short period of time. Most importantly, other cultivators might appear at any time during this process. The thought of these treasures possibly falling into someone else's hands made its heart ache a little. One should know that even one stalk of these spiritual herbs would cost an exorbitant price outside. Bailey Hongzhuang thought for a moment but still shook her head and said, "The White Dragon is not interested in such matters. Let her cultivate in peace." Although there were many cultivators who had come to participate in the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm this time, most of them knew each other. If a stranger suddenly appeared, others would definitely notice it at the first moment. That would not be a good thing. It was very likely that it would involve the Chaos Ring. If the White Dragon were to step in when they were in danger, that would be something that could not be helped. Hearing this, Xiao He nodded, "All right." However, after saying this, Xiao He's hands moved even faster. Only the spiritual herbs in her hands would belong to her. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly picked the spiritual herbs. In a short period of time, the woman and the two beasts looked like bandits as not even a single blade of grass was left. After putting all the spiritual herbs that they had picked into the Chaos Ring, Bailey Hongzhuang even held a portion of the spiritual herbs in her hand to confuse any cultivators who might appear later on. "Master, our luck seems to be pretty good. Until now, no other cultivators have appeared." Xiao He took a moment to raise her head. She suddenly felt that farming was really tough. However, her heart was only filled with excitement as she picked the spiritual herbs. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded, "That's true." Just based on her current harvest, she felt that this trip had not been made in vain. Actually, we haven't ventured too deep into the mystic realm and we've already come across such a medicinal field. I wonder what kind of treasures we'll find when we go deeper. Baisher's eyes flickered with a sigh. No wonder so many cultivators are vying for a slot to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Now, I feel that the previous auction price was too low. Previously, a small portion of the D family's identity cards were auctioned off at the auction house. When they first heard the price, they were all shocked. That was because the price was simply too high. However, they had only been in the immortal cloud mystic realm for a short period of time and they had already gained so much. Instantly, White Lion felt that the previous price was not considered high at all. That's right, we've really struck it rich. Xiao Hei's face was filled with excitement. Not only was she a foodie, she was also a money grubber. Bailey Hongzhuang found it rather funny when she saw how excited Xiao Hei and Baisha were. She said, actually, it could be that we're just lucky. Not all cultivators would have such a harvest. However, if everyone is able to obtain such rewards, then this immortal cloud mystic realm is truly a treasure trove. Just as the woman and the two beasts were busy picking the herbs, another two figures arrived at the medicinal field. Su Yaqing's eyes shone brightly when she saw the high-grade spiritual herbs in front of her. She could not hide the joy on her face. Chapter 48-23. Su Minglei, who was standing at the side, sighed. We have walked for so long without any harvest. I thought we were unlucky. I didn't expect that we would come across such a large field of herbs. These herbs are all very valuable. Previously, I heard that the divine cloud mystery realm is very suitable for the growth of spiritual herbs. I was still a little doubtful. Now that I see it, these spiritual herbs are really too shocking. Such a large field of spiritual herbs, I can't believe it. Su Yaqing looked at Su Minglei happily. Big brother, let's not waste any more time. Let's hurry up and harvest. If other cultivators come, it will be troublesome. All right. Su Minglei nodded without hesitation. He hated that he didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms and couldn't harvest fast enough. However, just as the two of them were harvesting, they suddenly felt an unfamiliar aura in front of them. The two of them immediately raised their heads and looked at each other with a serious expression. There's someone in front. Su Minglei said in a low voice. Let's go and take a look. Su Yaqing had a complicated expression. Looking at the situation, the other party might have come earlier than them. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was immersed in harvesting the herbs, also felt the two auras approaching rapidly. She immediately put the spiritual herbs into her chaos ring, leaving only a few spiritual herbs in her hands. Soon, the three of them came face to face. It's Bailey Hongzhuang from the D family. Su Yaqing recognized Bailey Hongzhuang at first glance. In fact, in this divine cloud mystery realm incident, Bailey Hongzhuang was undoubtedly the most eye-catching person. Previously, in the pill refining competition, Bailey Hongzhuang's limelight was already unshakable. In addition to the incident with Ao Lingxiao, almost everyone knew who Bailey Hongzhuang was. Most importantly, no one would forget such a beauty after seeing her for the first time. Knowing that she was from the D family, Su Yaqing and Su Minglei's expressions turned serious. However, after noticing that Bailey Hongzhuang was alone, the two of them secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's pill refining skills were very powerful, it was obvious that her cultivation level wasn't high. The siblings didn't need to fear her. Just as Su Yaqing and Su Minglei were sizing Bailey Hongzhuang up, Bailey Hongzhuang was also sizing them up. These two seemed to be from the Su family. Bailey Hongzhuang's brows raised. She had noticed it before when Di Xiaofeng was explaining the situation. Therefore, when she thought about it now, her tone was a little uncertain. The atmosphere instantly froze. The three of them stood face to face, their gazes colliding with each other. Undercurrents surged. A moment later, Su Minglei's voice rang out. Lady Bailey.
After feeling Bailey Hongzhuang's soft voice, Su Minglei's face also had a smile. He cupped his hands and smiled, "Miss Bailey, I've heard a lot about you. Since we're able to come to this herb field together, it can be considered fate. Why don't we pick our own and not disturb each other?" Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded, "That's great. I have the same idea." Su Minglei and Su Yaqing looked at each other and smiled, "Then we won't disturb Lady Bailey any longer." With that, the two of them backed off and started to pick the spiritual herbs from below. Chapter 48-24. In contrast to Xiao Hei's relaxed demeanor, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head, but the wariness in her eyes did not dissipate. "We still can't be sure if what they've said is true or false. Perhaps it's just a temporary measure." Her pitch-black phoenix-like eyes flickered with a bright and wise light. "There are still so many spiritual herbs here. If they were to fight with me now, not only would they destroy the spiritual herbs here, they might even attract other cultivators here. This is not beneficial to them at all." "Ah." Xiao Hei was shocked. "Master, what do you mean? We're only safe for now. Even if they don't make a move now, it doesn't mean that they won't make a move later on. Once we've finished harvesting all the spiritual herbs here, it'll be time for them to make a move. Then what should we do?" Xiao Hei frowned. She never thought that this matter would be so troublesome. Initially, everything in the herb farm belonged to them. Now that two people had suddenly appeared, a battle might break out later on. "Master, I remember that these two people are the more outstanding members of the Su family team. I'm sure that they're not weak either." Baisha reminded her. As a demonic beast, Baisha's physical strength was extremely powerful. Hence, he had not stayed on the deck during the journey to the Divine Cloud's secret realm. Instead, he had stayed below the deck. During that period of time, Baisha had learned a lot about the situation. "If we were to make a move, what do you think our chances of winning are?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked after some thought. "I'm not sure." Baisha's expression showed some hesitation. "They've never made a move in the flying artifact, so I can't determine their exact level of power. However, if we were to really meet them, we'll still have the power to protect ourselves." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently, "Then we'll talk about this later. Let's harvest the spiritual herbs first." Following the appearance of Su Yaqing and Baisha, Bailey Hongzhuang and her two demonic beasts began to pick up the spiritual herbs even faster. Both parties were snatching the spiritual herbs as fast as they could. After all, every spiritual herb was extremely valuable once they left the secret realm. To a money grubber like Xiao Hei, it was as if it had been injected with chicken blood. It did not even raise its head as it frantically plucked the fruits. Su Yaqing was originally quite calm. After all, she and Su Minglei were two people, while Bailey Hongzhuang was only one person. In terms of picking speed, Bailey Hongzhuang was definitely no match for them. However, after picking for a while, she looked up and found that Bailey Hongzhuang's two contracted beasts' picking speed was even faster than the two of them combined. "Big brother, what kind of contract beast does Bailey Hongzhuang have? How can you pick the herbs so quickly?" Su Yaqing was not calm and her voice was full of anxiety. Hearing this, Su Minglei raised his head. Sure enough, with one look, he discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang and the two demonic beasts were as fast as the wind. Compared to them, the speed of the siblings was indeed not enough. "I don't know. Based on their speed, in the same amount of time, they're picking the herbs much faster than us. I'll release my contract beast too." Su Yaqing immediately released her contract beast. "You, hurry up and pluck the herbs too." Su Yaqing's contract beast was a fire cloud fox. When it was released, it thought that it would be participating in a battle.
Instantly, its face was filled with fighting spirit as it waited for a great battle. However, when it heard its master's words, it could not help but be stunned. Chapter 48-25. What are you chirping about? Su Yaqing slapped the fire cloud fox's head. I'm asking you to pick the herbs quickly. The fire cloud fox stared blankly at Su Yaqing. When it realized that it had not heard wrongly, it looked at its claws and then at the spirit herbs in front of it. Without further delay, it began to pick the herbs. Su Yaqing picked the spirit herbs while paying attention to the fire cloud fox beside her. From her point of view, they were now 3-3 with Bailey Hongzhuang. Their speed should be the same. However, when she saw her fire cloud fox picking the spirit herbs as if it was pulling carrots, and then looked at the other party's nimble contract beast, the flames of anger in her eyes burned. The fire cloud fox was happily digging the mud when suddenly, another slap landed on its head. Chirp. The fire cloud fox looked at Su Yaqing in confusion. It was already picking the spirit herbs, why was she still hitting it? Why don't you take a look at your own speed? Su Yaqing's face was full of disdain. The others are also contract beasts, and so are you. Why is your speed so much slower than other contract beasts? Hearing that, the fire cloud fox looked at Xiao He and Bai Shi who were not too far away. It was dumbfounded. Why were the claws of these two fellows so nimble? Are you contract beasts who specialize in picking spirit herbs? Slap. Another slap landed on the fire cloud fox's head. What are you looking at? Hurry up and pick them. Su Yaqing could not help but think. She had always heard that the cultivators in the lower realm were not powerful enough. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had appeared, their views had changed. Now, she realized that the demonic beasts in the lower realm were also very powerful. At least, the nimbleness of these two claws was amazing. The fire cloud fox reached out and touched its head. It glared angrily at Xiao He and Bai Shi and continued to pick the spirit herbs with an aggrieved expression. It was only a demonic beast. It could eat the spirit herbs directly. Why did they make it do such a thing? Xiao He and Bai Shi suddenly felt a gaze filled with resentment. They raised their heads and looked into the distance. Only then did they notice the fire cloud fox opposite them. I didn't expect that fire cloud raccoon to know how to pick spirit herbs. Xiao He was surprised. Then we have to speed up. Originally, they had the upper hand. Now that the other side had an additional helper, they could not fall behind just like that. If the fire cloud fox knew what Xiao He and Bai Shi were thinking, it would definitely regret looking at them like that. Although Su Yaqing wholeheartedly wanted to surpass Bailey Hongzhuang and her two contracted beasts, the final reality told her that it was impossible. Finally, there weren't many medicinal herbs left in the medicinal field, and the distance between the two parties was getting closer and closer. Bailey Hongzhuang stopped what she was doing and looked at the two people before she said, "Young Master Su, young Miss Su, I'll take my leave first." She was not a greedy person. The amount of spirit herbs she had collected this time was enough for her. After meeting the two members of the Su family, she felt that she might encounter other cultivators at any time. Therefore, it was undoubtedly best to maintain her best condition. Most importantly, even if a conflict were to break out, it would be best not to stay in the medicinal field. Otherwise, it would be easy for others to guess what she had on her. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.